The 2025 NFL schedule will finally be here on Wednesday. And will the Panthers return to primetime? We'll talk about that right here on Locked On Panthers.
You are Locked On Panthers, your daily Carolina Panthers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, as always, Julian Council, talking Carolina Panthers with you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and yes, of course, Friday, your team every day. That's our motto here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for watching the show right here on YouTube and listening wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Be sure to follow me, Julian Council, over on Twitter and Blue Sky at Julian Council, because on Fridays throughout the offseason, I'm right here on the show answering your weekly Friday mailbag questions. All you got to do is either at me or DM me over on Twitter at Julian Council, or at me over on Blue Sky, also at Julian Council, to get your questions in for this week's edition of the weekly Friday mailbag right here on Locked On Panthers. Today's episode of Locked On Panthers is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Today is the day that I have been waiting for 4 months, as the NFL is finally, at long last, going to give us their scheduled dates. We already know what the schedule has been. We've known the opponents for the Panthers since January, but the NFL every single year, they want to wait until the middle of May to tell us when those games will be played. And I understand you got the season going on in January. February is the Super Bowl. March is free agency. April is the draft. They want to have a big event every single month of the offseason. Totally understand. Does not make it any less annoying that we have to wait until this late in the calendar in the offseason to find out when these games will actually be played. We know the opponents. If you don't know the opponents, Panthers obviously playing the Falcons, the Saints, and the Bucks 2 times this season, home and away, as they do every year as NFC South Division opponents. They have the Rams, the Seahawks, the Bills, the Dolphins, and the Cowboys at home. A nice home schedule this upcoming season. On the road, they're headed to Arizona, to San Francisco, New England, the Jets, the Packers, and then against the Jacksonville Jaguars as well. And I think, again, a really entertaining home schedule that it's not just 3 division games, but you're also getting a Rams team with Matthew Stafford coming back. He has a new rework deal. They're thinking about Super Bowl aspirations. Seattle, there's the ties of Dave Canales and this staff. Sam Darnold making a return to Charlotte. Buffalo as well. We already know about the presence of Buffalonians here in Charlotte. That will be, hopefully, not a stadium takeover, but the amount of Buffalo people I see here, the amount of Buffalo bars that we have in this town is sickening. And I imagine that they're going to get into that stadium. And I hate if that does happen. The Dolphins, an entertaining team when Tua Tagovailoa is healthy. And then the Dallas Cowboys, of course, are the Cowboys. And seemingly the Panthers play the Cowboys like every single year at home at this point in time, or just every single year, period. And then the road games, and maybe the Packers game is probably the most intriguing of those road trips. I don't know if Arizona is one of those. Now, Carolina is certainly going to win as they own the Cardinals at this point in time. San Francisco is the coldest place on planet Earth. It doesn't matter whether it's the middle of the summer or if it's in the fall. I hate it there. It's so freaking cold. It's ridiculous. But the 49ers, that game actually in Santa Clara. So maybe it's warmer down there in Santa Clara than it is in San Francisco. Maybe that's something that you're interested in. The Patriots game, the Jets game. But I think the Packers, clearly the best road trip for Carolina this year. But what I want to know is, will the Panthers, one, be playing at home to start off week 1? And 2, will they be playing a non-divisional opponent? I don't love, honestly, playing division games week 1. If they want to play it week 2, that's totally fine. They want to play one week 4. That's good. I like those to be mainly spread out in November and December and January. Maybe like play one in September, play another in October, and then have the other 4 spread across the last couple of months of the season, mainly in December. And of course, in that January week, as the playoffs are on the line, hopefully for Carolina, but for the division title and all of that, that always makes sense. Just don't love like last year, you're starting off. Well, no, it wasn't last year. It was 2 years ago. You're starting off on the road in Atlanta. Then you're playing New Orleans at home. And it's not just that you're 0-2. It's that you're 0-2 in the division as well. I don't love that. Not that they would have been 2-0, would have felt a lot better about it. But I would like to see the Panthers not have to play the Falcons, the Bucks, or the Saints at all in week 1 or even in week 2 for me, unless with the Monday Night Football of it all, and we'll talk about the potential of Carolina to return to primetime games this season later on in the show. I could be talked into that making sense. But looking at it, they played on the road the last 2 years against divisional opponents. So they played at Atlanta 2 years ago. They played at New Orleans last year. I do not think that they should be playing at Tampa, and I do not want to see them host Tampa week 1. We already know the Cowboys are off the board because they're playing the Eagles on Thursday night to open up the season there in Philly, as is tradition for the Super Bowl winner to open up at home against whoever, and it's usually a marquee opponent. So I have 2 preferred opponents when looking at the 4 remaining non-divisional opponents that Carolina could potentially play at home in week 1. Number 1, Seattle, and I mentioned it briefly before. It's the Sam Darnold return game to Charlotte. There's still that storyline as things did not work out for him with the Jets, with the Carolina. He goes to San Francisco, has a little bit of a renaissance as a backup, gets an opportunity there in Minnesota last year, and he was excellent all season long until, well, it actually mattered at the end of the season, and the Vikings have moved on. He's moved on. He's now in Seattle, and he's hopefully for them going to be their franchise quarterback moving forward. Of course, the Seahawks connection is not just in there when it comes to Carolina. Dave Canales and the majority of this offensive coaching staff comes from Seattle. So I would find that to be a highly entertaining week 1 opponent. And if it's in week like 8, week 10, sure, those storylines are still there, but I'm looking at week 1. What's like a storyline that's going to really have me excited? And I do think Sam Darnold coming back, new team, back to Charlotte, Dave Canales, second year, Mike McDonald, second year, both of those guys, of course, with Seattle ties, but really Dave Canales and his coaching staff. I would love for that to be the week 1 opponent. If it's not Seattle, then really it's Buffalo. If Bill fans are going to go in there and probably take over the stadium, and I say that respectfully, y'all, like, don't get mad at me for pointing out something that constantly has happened over the last couple of years. Now, I do believe that y'all are pretty fired up about the upcoming season after seeing what Bryce Young did at the end of the year and what they've done so far this offseason, that we may avoid a takeover. But here is just the fact of the matter here in Charlotte. There are so many people who are not from here, who have not been given a reason to adopt this football team, to where even when the freaking Vikings come to town, there are takeovers. A team that I would never expect that to happen with, it happened. And Dallas has always done it historically. Pittsburgh's always done it historically. That was really all it was growing up here and going to games there in that state of my dad. But in recent times, it's been everybody who's been doing it. And the second most popular team, I would guess, in this city is the Buffalo Bills. And they're expecting to be contending once again for an AFC title game, and maybe this time break through and go to the Super Bowl. So I think there's going to be a lot of Bills fans in there. There's not really an argument against that. Is it going to be 50-50? Is it going to be 60-40, Panthers or Bills? I don't know. But there's going to be a lot of Buffalo Bills fans all over the place, and it's just going to be a horrible scene that I do not want to see, but it's going to happen. If the Bills fans are going to go to, or who already live here, and probably complain about the heat throughout the summer, it's still going to be hot as hell in September, as we all know. And if they're going to travel from Buffalo to come down here with their buddies and to watch the game, I'd rather that game be played week 1 in the summer heat. And yes, September, it's still the summer. So I would rather it be 95 degrees, week 1, Buffalo Bills fans in there sweating their ass off, being absolutely miserable as Carolina beats them. Like, that's what I would rather have week 1. If we're going to do that, I would rather Seattle, but if it's going to be Buffalo playing here in Charlotte, which you already know is going to happen, let it be week 1. Let them sweat their asses off and just be miserable in that Carolina heat. I'm cool with that. Really, the Rams game, I'd be down with that. The Dolphins, those would also be attractive. This, to me, is one of the more attractive home schedules that the Panthers have had in the last couple of seasons, when you just look at how everybody, aside from, of course, the 3 divisional opponents, are like truly contenders for the playoffs this season. Like the Rams, I could see a Super Bowl. Seahawks, well, you know how I feel about Sam Darnold, so I don't really buy that. The Bills, they're going to be there. The Dolphins, as long as Tua is all good, they'll be fine. And then Dallas, with Dak Prescott back and healthy, they'll be a formidable opponent again this season. In the whole, there's never been a repeat champion in the NFC East. Can't forget about that at all. All I know is the Panthers should be at home week 1 and just give me something other than Atlanta, Tampa, or New Orleans start the season. Preferably give me Seattle. And, well, if it's not going to be Seattle, give me Buffalo and let the Bills fans have to sweat it out here in Charlotte. How about primetime games? Panthers did not have any last year coming off a 2-15 season, and I don't blame anybody for that being the case. They did play over in Germany, which was an amazing experience that I will always cherish and never forget. But will they have a primetime game this year? Could they have more than one primetime game? We'll talk about that here in just a moment on Locked On Panthers. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. If you think that Anthony Edwards is going to carry Minnesota and go off, why not back it up with a same-game parlay? New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. The Panthers were shut out from primetime last year on the NFL schedule. Will they return this year in 2025? And looking back at last season, look, I understand. Things didn't go well year 1 with Bryce Young, the 11 games of Frank Reich in Carolina, and there was a new head coach, new general manager, and wasn't a lot of intrigue heading into Carolina with the Panthers other than could Bryce kind of take a step forward. But just nationally, don't think too many people were that interested in watching the Panthers play on Amazon Prime or play on NBC or play on any of those primetime games a year ago. And not having a primetime game, whatever, not a big deal. Of course, fans, you always want to be in the primetime spotlight. Having that standalone game, which kind of actually ended up being in primetime, at least German time, in Germany, at least it was the afternoon, whatever. And it was nighttime by the time I left there. But that was a really nice moment as well. And if you're telling me that the Panthers can play an international game every year opposed to playing on Thursday Night Football, give me the international game. Give me the experience. I'll go travel. I'll be there for a week. I'd rather have that than the abomination that is Thursday Night Football. These guys laying their bodies on the line on Sunday, getting no time to recover, and then playing a game on Thursday. Like, I'm good there if it's a choice of the two. But I do think that this year they'll be back on Thursday night. Who they play, where they play, we'll find it out later on Wednesday, of course. But I think that one is going to happen. I think the real question is, do they get a Monday night game? I don't think they get a Sunday night game. Sunday Night Football at this point in time is reserved for, well, the quarterbacks, like the big name quarterbacks. So we're talking Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, Jackson. Those guys are all in the AFC. So they're going to get it. The Packers, the Steelers, those kind of legacy, the Cowboys. I mean, there's going to be a Cowboys-Giants Sunday night game, I'm sure, for whatever reason, because they keep shoving the Cowboys down our throats. Eagles maybe playing on Sunday night against Dallas. It's going to happen. So those are the teams that always get up there. And if you are someone like Jacksonville or, I mean, hell, Kansas City. I mean, it's not like Kansas City was always on Sunday night until like they got Mahomes. Like they had Alex Smith. So I think they were up there a couple of times because they were a winning football team. But when you are in these other markets, like a Charlotte, which is obviously a wonderful city, a huge city, not a small market at all, you got to be good. And you also need to have a player that people want to gravitate to and watch. And when Cam Newton was here in Carolina, that really helped Carolina's profile because they were winning games. And also they had this personality that, for whatever reason, even within the fan base, was someone that a lot of people had good and bad opinions of. And of course, that bled out nationally. And that goes all the way back to his career when he won the Heisman at Auburn and all the stuff that happened at Florida in between and all of that. But still, not having that kind of personality, I think, has maybe kept Carolina back. And if Bryce Young balls and becomes a top 5 quarterback in this league, he'll be up there, whether he is like an exciting guy or not. Like, I don't think Justin Herbert is an exciting personality. CJ Stroud doesn't really excite me as a personality, but CJ Stroud in Houston were on Sunday Night Football, I believe, twice last year when they played against Caleb Williams and the Bears at home. Then they played a game against the Lions as well on Sunday night. You win games. You can go from being a laughing stock like Houston to immediately playing 2 Sunday Night Football games. So Carolina hasn't gotten there just yet, but if they have another step forward this season, they can be there in 26, or you win a lot of games, you get later on to the season, and you get flexed in the Sunday night, which I think is like the ultimate praise of what a team is doing within the season. Like, I think it sucks that they decide, oh, Aaron Rodgers is a Jet now. The Jets have been in the playoffs since 2010. Yeah, they're in America's #1 market. They always suck. We don't care. Aaron Rodgers is there. Oh, man, he tore his Achilles. Sorry, guys. You're still going to have to watch the Jets a ton in primetime this year, and it's going to be awful. Your eyes are going to bleed. The Panthers don't have that luxury, or maybe even that curse, but I would rather have that curse than anything. So we just seen in the history of this franchise, they have to win in order to get a real primetime game. Thursday Night Football is not a real primetime game. It's not. It's not an honor. They're putting teams up there on Sunday night because everyone's going to watch Thursday. I mean, people are going to watch this regardless because people are addicted to football in this country. But the game, like, I do not watch Thursday night game. I don't want to see it unless it's like two contending teams late in the season. It's just, I'll watch the opening game with Philadelphia and Dallas because, like, okay, we haven't had a real NFL game in a long time. But if it's like Titans, Jags, that's usually been a horrible, like, quintessential Thursday game. I'm out on that. I'll go see what's popping in the Sun Belt. If there's a college football game there on Thursday night on ESPN, I'll go watch that opposed to watching whatever direct they usually put out there. The quality is just not all that good. So I just don't count that as being like a true primetime game. I am talking about, at this point in time, hell, getting a Thanksgiving game is like a primetime game. Getting those NFL Network, I think it might be a YouTube exclusive, getting those games on a Saturday in December up against the college football playoff. Like, that's a primetime game. Obviously, Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football. So will Carolina get one of those? I think it's a possibility, and maybe it's going to be one of those Monday Night Football doubleheaders where they get Chris Fowler, who I think is great, but like, Chris Fowler's not an NFL guy. They get him on the broadcast like a couple of years ago when they played the Saints at home. I'm good with that. I like that idea. That gives me another Sunday to not have to work. I'm all good with that. But like Packers, Bills, Cowboys, like, those were the teams I would think could help elevate Carolina to one of those primetime windows. Now, Green Bay, if they're going to play them, let it not be in the winter. But Buffalo, that's a home game. Dallas, that's a home game. Would be nice to see the city skylights, in that process, blue all across uptown, and then on primetime. So I think it's a possibility. It's just one of the things where you're going to have to earn Sunday night. And you go back to 2020, they're coming off of a 2019 season where things did not end well, and they had a brand new head coach, and it was Teddy Bridgewater as the quarterback, and they played a Saturday night game in Green Bay. They didn't get that. That's already been announced, those games. Maybe there's another pair that still need to be announced later on. But that would be something I'm looking at potentially for the Panthers. So we'll see. I do think that they're going to have a true primetime game, not just a Thursday night football. We're putting everybody there in that time slot this year. We'll see what it ends up being on Wednesday. But I do think with the way things ended last year, and I think there's still a little bit of intrigue compared to what there was last year in this organization, that Carolina could be right there in a primetime slot, of course, next to one of the bigger brands in the NFL. When will these games occur? And weather is always an impact. We'll talk about that here in just a moment on Locked On Panthers. All right, so trying to look at the schedule, or at least the opponents, and figure out when some of these games may be played. As I mentioned earlier, would love for Seattle or Buffalo to be that week 1 opponent at home. Panthers played on the road the last 2 years against divisional opponents. Atlanta a couple of years ago, last year in New Orleans. Don't need to do it 3 years in a row, and this time being at home against Tampa. Give me something else. Give me those division games later on in the year. I want to see Sam Darnold. I want to see Josh Allen here in the flesh. on that first Sunday in September. Like, that's what I like to see with the opener, but just trying to guess when some of these games may be played and when it would really be beneficial for the Panthers, especially like the road games. Definitely monitoring when they're going to play the Patriots, the Jets, and the Packers on the road. And that Green Bay game is the game that I'm kind of thinking about how to go about it this year, because I know last year, obviously went to the game in Germany, came back, went to the Chiefs game, and did the show from there. And I think kind of have a good workflow to where my plan would be at all the home games this season for the Panthers, and then may go down to Atlanta, may even head down to Tampa, and Green Bay. That's the spot I'm looking at. And because last year I was like, man, I need to know, because I got to book this flight for Germany when that game's going to be. Like, Green Bay, that's been the one this offseason, not nearly as much angst as I was always checking the flight prices. And like, it went from American to being a $600 flight to a $1,600 flight. Took Lufthansa, which was way better. They treated me like a human being, which American Airlines, and really any American airline, that being Delta, Southwest, whatever, they're never going to treat us like humans. Lufthansa fed me, man, like the whole way and back. It was great. That's the one I'm really interested in going to. I think back to 2019, that game in the snow. Yes, a heartbreaker. I thought one of the better outings that Kyle Allen had when he was a Panthers quarterback that season, filling in for Cam, and showed some toughness. The terrible roughing the passer call on Gerald McCoy. It was ridiculous. Like, that was a game that just so close to winning it, and just couldn't get it in at the end zone. So I want to go to Lambeau. I want to see it. And I don't really want to see it in December. I don't really want to see it if it's snowing. Of course, I'd be inside the press box, but I'd love to go up there when it's still a little nice and there's the seasons haven't necessarily changed. The autumn winds, I can do that. I cannot do any of the other wintry stuff. So we'll see when that game's played. The Packers do already have a couple of games announced in December, so that may keep the Panthers from playing there in December. Like, this game needs to be in October. September would be great. We'll see when that game's going to be. The Jets, Pats, kind of same thing, especially New England. I do think with Braves as the head coach up there now, they're going to be a better coach team. They don't know how much better there will be as far as the talent goes. Defensively, certainly added a lot there. The whole Milton Williams thing that worked out for them and not for Carolina, even though I think the Panthers made out pretty well with what they brought in instead of spending that money all on Milton Williams. That's a game to look at. And then the Jets, it's the Jets, so it doesn't really matter when they play. Cardinals, 49ers, Jags. Weather-wise, Cardinals is inside. 49ers, again, the Bay Area is the coldest place on this hemisphere. So, I say that in jest, obviously. But that not a big deal weather. Jags, I guess maybe don't want to play in September, but it's going to be hot here too. So play that one in December like they did a couple of years ago. I guess that would be cool, because you would rather play like that game in December than draw, of course, the Packers in December. So those are kind of when I'm curious, like when those games will be played. Looking at it again, like Atlanta, New Orleans, Tampa. Give me one in October, give me one in September, and then give me the other four, pretty much like for the last like 7 weeks, I think. And sometimes it does get a little, I don't know, that's not annoying, but like you would like them to maybe spread it out just a little bit, to where having the final 2 games being division round opponents, that's cool for me. But then when it's like really bunched together, you save too many of those games. Don't necessarily love that. Like, if we're going to do it, like do one in September, one in October, you got 2 at the end of the season, and then the other 2 kind of have those spaced out a little bit between the end 2 and then like the one that they have in October, if they could do that. Like, that would be my preference just as the divisional games go, because they're always exciting. I like to just kind of have them be a little bit isolated on the schedule as well. But yeah, Rams, that one doesn't matter the weather-wise, but I would think you want to probably get them. I don't know if you want to have them get them late, because that's going to be a team that I think is going to be a contender. Dolphins, that's a game actually weather-wise you probably want to play in December, just knowing how they have not handled cold weather well. And I hear you saying right now it doesn't get cold in Charlotte. Well, it's a lot colder here than it gets in Miami. And you live in that Florida sunshine, you become pretty soft. So that would be a game I'd also kind of like to see played later on in the season. But just looking at the schedule again, like, love all the home games. Those are all games that I would like, especially the non-divisional games. We rarely see those teams here in Charlotte. Really excited to see all the opponents come to town, even though I feel like the Seahawks, that's been a pretty common opponent. Obviously, the Cowboys have been, but the Dolphins, Bills, thank God they don't play here often. That has not been that common of opponent here in Uptown and in the road games. All pretty, like, you look at it, like, as far as like just the strength of the schedule, and it's just so up and down. Like, you don't know. It's not for long. It's about the NFL. You have no idea who's actually going to play in any of these games. Like, we didn't think Derek Brown to be out for the entirety of the season last year, and he was. So I'm not wishing that on anybody, but some of these important players on each of these teams that Carolina's going to play are not going to be available when those games happen. So it's very hard to prognosticate like how those games are going to play out, but just based off of last year's, which we have to go off of, and even some of the additions, the toughest games all feel like they're at home. The Rams, Seahawks, will see. I mean, the Bills, certainly. The Dolphins can be a tough one. The Cowboys think they're going to bounce back. But like Arizona, Panthers own them. The Niners, they should be back better, but we'll see. They've had a lot of changes. The Patriots, I don't think they're going to be very good. The Jets are the Jets. The Packers, that will be a tough game. The Jags, man, come on. I don't think that much of them either. So most of your tough games are just looking at the teams last year and their records and some of the moves that they've made this offseason. Those, at least the ones outside of the division, are mainly at home, which could set up pretty well for Carolina, especially if the fans can get back in the stadium and can be in there supporting the team and not selling their tickets and not allowing these takeovers to occur. Then maybe we can get that home field advantage. And I totally get it. Your money. David Tepper has done just ghastly things, his organization. I do feel like the tide is beginning to change, and you may be safe to put your heart back out there on the line, which you're going to do regardless. Like, it doesn't even matter. I don't need to give you permission. We all know what's going to happen. Come August, you're going to be right back on that narcotic that is the Carolina Panthers. So excited for the schedule to finally be out and to be able to plan out my fall and knowing this game is going to be played. But that's going to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network, hosted by yours, Julian Council. Again, y'all, subscribe or follow the show for free over on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Be sure to follow me, Julian Council, over on Twitter and Blue Sky at Julian Council, because I'm back on Friday answering your weekly Friday mailbag questions, either at me or DM me on Twitter or at me on Blue Sky to get those questions into me right now. In the meantime, be safe, be happy, be whole. As always, keep pounding, and I'll be back. Don't know if I'm going to go live on Wednesday, but I'll be back Wednesday evening as the schedule comes out around 8 o'clock, and I will give you my reactions to that and look ahead, of course, to the 2025 season here on the Locked On Panthers.